What do you think of when you think of anger issues? Well, here's the problem. Anger issues is a spectrum. There's no one right way to define it. But the problem is the common misconceptions about it. As a dictionary definition, anger issues is defined as the passing of anger from generation to generation. Seems simple, right? But the idea of anger issues isn't an easy one to grasp, even if you think you know what it is. So the easiest way for me to help you guys learn about it is by linking it to behaviors you all know and understand. I'd like everybody to take a second and think about the subconscious behaviors in your family that you might reflect. Maybe your dad always holds the door open for people behind them. Maybe your mom always thanks the cashier. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be anything small. Our ability to pick up and recognize these patterns is the same ability that allows us to understand the grasp behind anger issues. For example, in my household, being kind is a staple. It was drilled into me from a very young age. Aaria, when you go to school, don't bully anybody. And when I get home and I bully my brother, I get the exact same reaction. Aaria, be kind. Now, since that was absolutely drilled into me as a child, when I grew up, I knew that being mean to random people wasn't okay. This might seem like common sense, but the same muscles in my head that allowed me to understand I must be kind are the same muscles which create anger issues. It starts with our ability to understand the atmospheric pressure. What's atmospheric pressure? Well, essentially, it's your ability to pick up on small behaviors and replicate it within yourselves, especially before your prefrontal cortex develops. So, let's circle back to anger issues. Imagine an atmosphere where every single day when you come home, all you're met with is consistent, constant anger. When you grow up, what are you expected to reflect? Of course, there are other environments, there are schools, but we don't spend enough time in school to completely eliminate what we spend at home. So, for somebody whose entire home life is filled with anger, when they grow up, how can we expect anything from them? How can we judge them for reflecting anything but anger? When you guys thought about anger issues earlier today, I'm sure you were thinking of something irrational. People with anger issues are broken. People with anger issues just don't know how to express their emotions. And you're not completely wrong. Anger issues is a diagnosis for a reason. But the second we start to place a stereotype of everyone with anger issues is broken, we actually set them farther back. Let me take a few steps back. There's a part in our brain called an amygdala. It's essentially your smoke detector. It's the part of your brain that warns when something feels wrong. As a child, for anyone who grows up in a toxic environment, this part of their brain becomes extremely sensitive. They are able to pick up on the most minuscule shifts in tone. So now, fast forward maybe 20 years, the exact same person who could hear one click of a tongue and automatically understand that their mother was mad will overreact to their child spilling their milk or their partner giving them a look. Is it because they are broken, or is it because their brain was trained to be that way? But maybe I'm moving too fast. Anger issues begin with your home. They're intergenerational for a reason. They're a cycle for a reason. They're not meant to easily be broken. But here's the problem. Maybe our patterns were never meant to be broken. Maybe the things that we learned when we were young stick with us for a reason. But when somebody has that kind of environment at home, they develop something called hypervigilance. It's your ability to pick up on the smallest things in every single behavior. So now that we understand how they start, how do they continue? The same person who grew up having to receive anger projects it. Why? Because that is all they ever knew. When confronted with the case of how do I respond to this situation, what example do they have except from what they've already previously learned? So now we understand that the cycle is bad. We understand to some extent why it continues. Why doesn't it break? Why doesn't it stop? Who wants to have anger issues? It doesn't stop because that's our natural human reaction. We as humans love pattern more than anything else in the entire world. And since we love this pattern so much, patterns established early on become even harder to break. Because we as humans, in some way, are trees. We bear the marks of the seasons that came before us. But what's crucial to breaking the cycle is to understand that we are not just trees. We are conscious creators. We alone have the power to choose our own fate. But here's the thing, every single person who gets up and chooses to change their own cycle, their own lives, their own patterns, is somebody who chooses to go against war with human biology. And that is one of the hardest things you could ever do. But the thing is, it's also one of the most crucial. So when presented with a choice on whether to explode or stay calm when the world expects you to crumble, always choose the latter. Thank you, have a good day.